Hi, welcome to my journey. So anyway, we went to Winco. Oh my god. Winco has sparkling water. Right here. I had to buy it. A whole case of sparkling water for $1.98. 0 calories. Yeah, I had to buy it. So I did. I bought 2. Right? Because I think it was one of my last videos where I was stating, oh, I got to have flavored water, that's my soda pop. Well, that's because sparkling water is way out of reach. Okay? Got the toilet paper, right? And while I was in there, they had evaporated milk for 88 cents. I'm like, when was the last time I seen some evaporated milk for 88 cents? And I'm like, oh yeah, evaporated milk is definitely something that you could use and put into the pantry. For 88 cents, you got to do it. You got to. So I bought 2. I could buy 2. And then I'm walking around there and I see they have some Borden sliced American cheese. For $3.24. And I'm like, when was the last time I seen a pound of cheese for $3.24? So I bought it. Okay? They also had some pork sausage. A whole pound of pork sausage for $2.55. So I bought it. Okay? Now I ain't no fool, right? And I probably should have stopped there. But, the coffee that I'm drinking right now, it ain't tasting great because it doesn't have any kind of creamer in there. So I bought some creamer for $2.67. So Winco brand. Okay? So that's what I ended up buying. It costed me a little over $18. Okay? You can't leave the house without spending money. You cannot. So, yeah. I don't know what else to say, but I did it. I bought it, I did it. That's how it is. And now I'm going back to the laundromat. And I'm going to put my stuff in the dryer. Put my stuff in the dryer. And that's going to cost me about divide them up. But yeah. There was no problems there. Everybody was fairly nice. If nothing else, they was at least cordial, decent, right? Bumped into a couple of people. Nobody bit my head off. Nobody bit my head off. Nobody was like, "Watch where the fuck you going, bitch?" Nobody did that to me, thank God. So yeah. Let me run in here real quick. So that white truck is gone. That monster truck is gone. Let's see. I'll be right back. Okay, it's 67 degrees out here. I've been leaving the car on for the PDs. And now I got about 12 minutes to dry. Okay? So, what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my shit to the house while I'm waiting on the clothes to dry. And then, come back. And get my clothes, and I think I'll still have enough time to take the pitties for a walk. I mean, if I sit here with these stuff that requires refrigeration, I wouldn't feel comfortable taking them for a walk because the food will, get too warm. I don't think the exposure will be drastic, but I think it's optimal that I take the food home. Otherwise, we would be just sitting there in the parking lot. I'd be tempted to take them for a walk in the parking lot. And we ain't gonna do that because, they be pulling at me. Okay? So, yeah. I mean, surprisingly, everybody is pretty nice in the neighborhood. Everybody's pretty nice in the neighborhood. Nobody seems to be taking their anger out on the next person, and that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So, yeah. It was cold this morning. Oh, that's what I wanted to do. Damn it. Because even though right now I'm feeling pretty good, there's a chance that at any time, and I feel it now, that my congestion and everything starts to flare up again, and I start feeling like I can't breathe. I'm telling you, I'm getting traumatized. So I was kind of looking at, the Social Security website that had said, apply for both. Like, both of what? I thought, they were one and the same. So here's the thing that I didn't understand, right? That, disability, they should have been had me on at least Medicare. Because they knew I couldn't afford my medicine. However, I don't know, I was denied what, in 2023, and that's when I had got hurt, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a setback that I don't think I'm gonna be, able to recover from, because like I said, as you get older, you get less resilient. Let's just put it like that. Not saying that you can't recover, but it definitely takes a longer time to recover, if you recover at all. So, yeah. I got my appointment for disability to see if, even if they refuse me again to get put on disability, to see if I can at least get some medical. Because I'm going to need to have some blood work done. I'm going to also need some more medication. I'm going to need some more medication. And also, dang, I haven't even had an annual. And how long? Just stuff like that, because I've been basically, I have been relying on, first of all, my job to have medical, right? First it was AT&T when they fucked around and, surplused me retroactively after I came back, from disability. Then decided not to pay me on time, delayed my payments for both my last check and my my severance. They actually blessed me because, they put me in the category, of appearing to work when I wasn't working. Wasn't really a blessing. They should have offered me the lump sum payment that I was qualified for, but they didn't. So, yeah. That was traumatic, that was traumatic. The sabotage that was going on at the job, the intentional, harassment, to try to get you fired and sabotage your work was unbelievable. It was traumatizing. Hold on. And what made it even more traumatizing was the thought that there were people out there willing to harm me or even kill me just to keep this a secret. Okay? And it's like, it's not a secret, And no way I wasn't going to let it be known in the spiritual realm, so that they have to go to spiritual court. And that's exactly what they had to do. They had to go to spiritual court, right? And of course, I was scared. I was scared they was going to take me out, right? And yet, I kind of knew that if they were able to take me out, that, it wasn't my destiny to do it. Okay? If they weren't able to take me out, then yes, it was my destiny to do it. So, English Bulldog puppies. No way. No way. Now when we can get pitties. So yeah, I was traumatized. Was fighting depression and everything. Like, what the hell is this going on? And even the union was like, we're powerless. There's nothing we can do. We can't force the business to do anything. And I'm like, what? So, it was like, I don't know, whoever was in charge of the union was like, they had taken the stance that, they might have to sacrifice some employees just to maintain, employment. I couldn't believe it, I still can't believe that they did that. So anyway, it took me a while to get over that because I lost my medical. I needed to have, my daily medicine, my daily thyroid. And I was just like, Lord, please just take me now, right? And so I'm sitting up here tripping, but I know specifically what I had told them. I said, look, if you allow this to happen, don't think it won't happen to you. And they were like, better you than me, better than you than me. And I was like, okay, all right. When it happens to you, don't come around here crying. When it happens to you that you too old, or you think is a benefit to the company to sabotage your ass rather than pay you, what they had contracted to do, don't cry. And yet here they are, crying loudly, and the shit that they did, the shit that they pulled off on Trump, right? The shit that they pulled off on Trump, where they was like misinterpreting the law on purpose, right? Setting unlawful precedents. And I'm like, oh shit, okay. Well, don't think it can't happen to you, right? So now, when it's happening to them, they're crying. And I keep trying to figure out, why you crying? Why you always crying? Right? Yeah, I got to go and get some medicine after this. It's starting to flare back up. Excuse me. Ooh. Okay, let me run in here and get my clothes. So, that's what happened to me. And I definitely fell into a depression, right? Because I went from like 175 pounds to to 240 pounds while I laid there waiting for the pandemic to stop and wondering what I was going to do. Because I thought I was going to die. I mean, I was an empty nester. I had no boyfriend. And, I was suffering, from fatigue and fibromyalgia, everything that was left in the house, it was a hard and cruel responsibility to try to sort through that stuff, to try to get it out, It took me, and I'm still in the process, mind you. I'm still in the process of trying to sort through clearing out, stuff that I don't need out of the house. Okay? God damn it. These men's really don't need to be parking in this parking lot around women, because they be trying to zip in, zip out, and women, they be trying to stay within the lines, be courteous, take their time, ain't no whipping or nothing. And these guys come in with these huge vehicles, huge. So anyway, I mean, that was crazy. It was like just during that little bit of time, there was people coming and going, and it was only one lane that people had to maneuver from. It's like, what the hell? What the hell? So, anyway, I am just now getting to the point where I feel like I can actually talk about it and my life ain't gonna be at risk, right? Because a lot of those people that, thought that was okay are now experiencing that, right? They're experiencing the fact that their contracts are not going to be honored. They're not going to be able to even get their pension before 67, 69, maybe even 70. And that's already happened when it comes to like Social Security. I think Social Security is already 67. Which, for me, that's like the same barricade that I faced, except it was the pandemic. It was the pandemic that was like, you're not going to be able to work unless, you get the vaccination, Most places, they talking about, yeah, you can get a $10 vaccination with your medical. They weren't talking about how much the vaccination cost if you didn't have medical. Right? The same thing happens today. They'll sit up here and talk about, free or $10 flu shots, right? But that's on the condition that you have medical. coverage, right? So that's one of the things that I'm going to have to talk about with the disability people when I have my appointment later on, because I have to find out how can I get me some kind of coverage, because I'm at the point where I can no longer believe, that I am, immune to illnesses, right? The proof is in the pudding, right? When I had medical, they had me on 13 different prescriptions. When I lost my medical, they didn't care. They didn't care. Because that was one of the things that I was trying to figure out. How is it when I have medical, I have doctors that have prescribed me 13 different kinds of medication, when I have medical, that now that I don't have medical, the medical community is just shrugging their shoulders like, I don't know what you're going to do. So that was one of the things that had prompted me to go and work at Amazon. Amazon, you can get your medical, I think, once you're hired on permanently after 30 days. So that was a saving grace for me. Because before I was trying to take, like private appointments, without medical, it was costing me like $200 for the doctor's appointment, and it was like $150 for the blood work. But this was back during the pandemic, right? Now I don't know what it would cost you, but I got on with Amazon. Amazon would allow you to go to their medical facilities, and they had one for if you had the medical, and they had another rate for if you didn't. All you had to do was be an Amazon employee. And I was like, cool. But as I was starting to, break down a little bit around the second year, I went ahead and got the medical. The medical was only about $30 or $40 a month, if I remember right. And, and it only really saved you like $25 instead of a $50 appointment fee. So, that was cool, right? But then as I started breaking down, the work started getting harder and harder. I'm like, damn, is this my age coming up with me? Plus, they keep moving you around from station to station to station, and you're constantly being exposed to all of these different germs. I didn't think my body could handle it, right? And I was like, now, and once the pandemic stopped being, stopped mandating the wipes, the hand sanitizers and stuff like that, the company was barely cared if they had soap in the bathroom. That's how bad it got. So I ended up going part-time and going retirement stage, right? So I was thinking, if I go retirement, that I'd be able to get the Medicaid. And I was like, no, you don't get the Medicaid until you're 65. And I'm like, well, how come they offer early retirement and they don't offer the Medicaid? And they're like, we don't know. I was like, well, shit. Then, while I'm sitting up here confused, right, about the changes that was going on at Amazon, where Amazon was I seen where they had announced that, the clinic was going to start cutting back, and they have been cutting back, but they were cutting back their hours. They used to be 24/7, walk-ins welcome, 7 days a week. So I was like, well, that makes sense, they cut back, But what I didn't read was they were no longer accepting people who didn't have the Amazon medical plan. That's what I didn't read. So when I got sick in February, and I couldn't go to the Amazon clinic, because they told me, well, if you don't have the Amazon medical, you can't even come to our clinic anymore. And I was like, when did that happen? They were like, well, yeah, it happened this year. And I was like, what? So I ended up trying to, heal myself with medication in February, and not being able to go to the doctor except going through these telemeds that, will see you through the telephone, and they're not really your doctor, but they're a doctor, and they'll try to give you some medication. Okay? So I ended up getting my medication that way. I got some antibiotics. The antibiotics didn't work. It seemed like it worked a little bit, but, not really. I was able to get my thyroid medication that way. But, I'm going to need to eventually, have due diligent care, right? I'm going to need to go and get me some blood work done. I can't even afford an endocrinologist. Thankfully, the T1s and the T3s and the T4s and stuff are all, being, widely known today, as opposed to 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and AI has it available at your fingertips, that, people are starting to understand, just because you need thyroid medication, this does not mean that you're diabetic. So anyway, let me go in here to this Dollar Tree and see if I can find some decongestants. Hold on. So yeah, I'm going in here to get me some decongestants. And maybe some milk bones for the dogs. Trying to act like life is just as normal as usual, okay?